Hello and welcome to this seminar of the Women's Informal Network. My name is Maria Magdalena Heinrich and I am one of the coordinators of the network. And today I have the pleasure of hosting the seminar on the untold other half. How can we add women's success stories to history and to books and become published book authors? This event is part of our series of life stories and career journeys of women leaders and stems from a dreaming event that we held at the beginning of the year, where it emerged that many women in our group have the desire to become published book authors. And so it is my big pleasure today to have here with us Sylvia Becker-Hill from Vista, California. Sylvia truly embodies many different things. And today I will be using the chat a lot because we have a lot to share, links, resources, and also a special handout that Sylvia prepared with the agenda because we have a very dense agenda. So I'm going to share that. It's a Google link that you can download and then follow. I hope it will work. But just very briefly to introduce Sylvia. As I was saying, she embodies many different things. She is a coach, a mentor, an executive coach, actually. She's an artist, and she has recently received the sort of official qualification of artistic mentor. What is it exactly, the name, Sylvia?
It's Intentional Creativity Certified Color of Women Teacher and Motherboard Coach. So
exactly, I could never remember that by heart, so thank you. But basically what she does is she puts wonderful pictures together, colors, and creates these intentional big boards, and they are so impressive. You will have to have a look at her website. And she is the founder of Women's Empowerment School, and she's also very generous. So she makes available free trainings. She has her own YouTube channel where she's making the weekly discussions about women empowerment, about how to reach a gender partnership. Because ultimately, the world that we're all striving for is to find a balance where women and men can work together in sweet harmony, I would say, and basically get the things done in a more harmonious manner. So as I was saying, the handout is with you and the agenda. We have many things that we want to discuss today. So really, I would like to quickly hand over to Sylvia to hear about why are women's stories missing from history books? Why are there so few women authors? And why do many women, despite current opportunities, also shy away from publishing? And what opportunities are there for us who actually want to be a published book author? And so Sylvia, who's also a published book author on Amazon, will share her insights with us. Sylvia, very welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, gorgeous. I'm so excited to meet you all here today because you matter. Your voices matter and your stories matter. And before I dive into the topic, I want you to be prepared from a neuroscience perspective. I'm a brain nerd. I love to put everything I'm teaching into the context of what serves our brain, because then the brain serves us better. And I know a lot of you are already in the evening. I just woke up here in California and started my day. So let's get our brain ready for what we are doing here today, because it will be intense. And one of my memes in my schools is, my information doesn't provide your transformation, your engagement does. So please stay at the edge of your chairs, sit up straight, ground your feet parallel on the floor, even shovel a bit your feet so that you really sense that you are safe, that you are carried, that you are grounded. Because when the brain doesn't feel safe, a part of your mental energy and attention is always balancing your body, scanning the space, making sure that you are safe. So ground yourself, take a few deep breaths. If you had a long, stressful day, maybe even shake it out a bit. This is shaking, and your body is one of the easiest, best mental strategies to shake off stress, shake off some incidences of your day, roll your shoulders, let go of some tension of maybe difficult conversations or some issues you have, and take a few deep breaths. And when you breathe in, feel as if your breath in pulls you up and makes you sit more stronger and taller, as if it's pulling you towards the sky, while your feet are grounding you, so that you know you are safely positioned, awake and present here right now, and your brain is activated. Those of you who don't worry about your hair, you can even wake up your brain by gently with your fingertips touch it. And especially because we live in a society, patriarchal, where our left brain hemisphere, the intellectual linear thinking, is always overstimulated, and our beloved right brain hemisphere, which is mainly responsible for colors, shapes, music, dancing, memories, ooh, yummy sex, and other gorgeous things, is understimulated and developed. So by simply tapping all around your head, you already help your brain to be on fire. And every movement of your body you do where you cross your middle line, for example, crossing your hands over your shoulder, and give yourself a pat for showing up here in the evening after a long work day to learn even more. And when you clap on both of your shoulders with your arms crossed through the nerves in your body to your brain connection, you stimulate literally both brain hemispheres and make sure they are awake. Are you awake? Can I see either some hands up, or those without video? You have at the bottom the reactions. Use the emoticons a lot, thumbs up or hearts or clapping, so that I know you are with me, you are awake, and you want your voices being heard. And time-wise, sadly, I can't meet you all here one-on-one and hearing all your voices. So the emoticon are just a tiny substitute for me knowing what lands with you. So if I say something which doesn't make sense, or you don't understand it, please unmute yourself and just yell, "Stop! Sylvia, please say that again," or "Stop, explain that, I didn't get it." That's okay. Because I talk fast, I'm very passionate, I'm originally from Germany, my English is not perfect. Sometimes I say things which are not English, they are German, but I pronounce them English because my brain can't come up quickly enough with the word. So if I say something you don't understand, please, you have my official permission to interrupt me. I don't take that personal. Yeah, I have a very thick skin. You can't say or do anything which would hurt me. So you are safe to express yourself, because I know I'm safe. I'm safe from being hurt by anything what you do. So be free to be yourself. And I see, Chitra, you are having a beautiful glass. I toast to you. Let's all, if you have tea or water with you, let's toast on you amazing women from around the world. Toast. I, by the way, would love from where you chime in, how international we are here tonight, or midday or morning. So please put in the chat box from where you chime in. I will save the chat box, so latest then I will see all your comments and questions. Marilena will help me, and she is my engagement facilitator, because I want to stay focused on the content and you, and that sometimes means I can't multitask and manage the chat room, but Marilena helps me with that. And at the very end, make sure you save the chat, because there will be lots of resources, and you do that by clicking the little chat bubble, and then there's on the top right 3 dots. And when you click on those, there's a word save. So before we leave the last 2-3 minutes, save the chat box, and also network with each other, ask questions in the chat box. And even if we time-wise can't answer all questions, Marilena and I, we have a nice surprise and something for you. There will be a way that all your questions will get answered. So honor your questions, even if there's no time today, by typing them up. So what we are going to do today is, ideally, you have the handout downloaded or printed. Minimum, you have something to write. Ideally, paper even without lines. Just for those of you who love to run around with your paper notepad with full of lines or checkered pattern, just know from brain perspective that closes down a bit your creativity. Your creativity to come up with more intuitive new solutions is bigger when you use white paper without lines, because remember in school when the teacher said, don't draw over the line, don't cross the line. Yeah, there's even a saying with multiple connotations. Women, don't cross the lines. So subconsciously, there's always something where our mind goes into a blockage when there are these checkers or lines. So ideally, you have empty paper. And if time allows, we will do one mini intentional creativity exercise to stimulate your intuition and your creativity. The way I think or teach is that we start with a big context. So we start with a huge context of the history of the patriarchy. Because the first question Marilena asked me a few minutes ago was, why are women's stories missing from history books? Women are always in the majority throughout human history. We are always around 52%, 51 dot something to 52% of the global population is always, would have been always women. Well, have been always as much as we can see it from archaeology and written down statistics, because it's biology, it's just nature. Evolution wants to make sure humanity survives, and we are the ones who give birth to the next generations. And because of the death rate and etc., it's just for nature and evolution, it makes sense that we have more women than men. So why, even though we are the majority, always have been, why are our stories missing from history books? And not only history books, but in all science. I remember I'm now 54, so I'm born 67 back in Germany. In our history books and books but also about geography or physics, there were not many women's names even mentioned. There were not a lot of researchers. Why is that? I assume you all know a lot of what I'm going to say, and yet I also know that the brain loves to receive the same information repeatedly again and again from a different angle, because this is how the brain loves to learn and rewire. When I do this, my hands symbolize neural cells, neural circuits. As more you repeat something, or as more you hear the same idea several times from different angles, the brain is then able to create neural networks and connect the ideas in different contexts. So the way I teach is always in relation to context. So the context of our discussion, and even for your own personal situation, is the big one of the patriarchy. Patriarchy. So please give me thumbs up or hands up if you think you know what the patriarchy is, you have heard about it, you have read about it, you have discussed it. Hands up, hands up. I just want to make sure that I don't overtalk with anyone. Okay, okay. So let me give you 2-3 comments about what it is, just to make sure we understand each other and are talking about the same thing, because you all probably know when 2 people use the same word, doesn't mean they talk about the same thing. So the patriarchy, in my understanding, is the culture. It's like the water we, the fish, metaphorically speaking, are swimming in. The patriarchy is a society where one of the essential structures is that it's about power over others. It's about power over others. the roots historically where patriarchy is coming from. And this is something you can see on the handout, or if Marilena, if you saw last minute, I sent you the image if you want to share it on the screen, or every one of you, if you click the view to the speaker view, you see my handout here now very big, then you will see the patriarchy is a society which was not the very first always in existence form of society, which a lot of people still believe. We had the matriarchy before that. I'm not going into that as much as I studied and love that topic, just for time purposes here today. What key is for me, what is key I want you to understand when it comes to the patriarchy is power over others, and the roots historically why the shift happened from matriarchy to patriarchy is scarcity. The scarcity of resources leads to the fight over resources, which ultimately leads to aggression and war. And that these two things, scarcity mindset, scarcity paradigm, combined then with the seeking of power over others, are essentially at the root and the essence of the patriarchy. The patriarchy is a phase in society. You can see on the handout, it started around 5,000 years before Christ, and the horrible, messy situation globally we are in right now, with systems crumbling, with structures crumbling, climate crisis, global pandemic, all the messy issues we are experiencing, as horrible and painful they are. This is a big topic, but I'm just mentioning it here to get the context clear. I'm convinced that the messiness is a symptom, is a sign of transition, and being trained in change management and how to analyze evolutionary trends. As messy as it is, I applaud it, because I know in my bones the patriarchy is in decline, is rumbling. The authoritarianism we see popping up in a lot of places is like a resistance of dinosaurs against their own death. So at the horizon, we already have the new. It's not there yet, but we see pockets all around the world where the new form of society and culture is emerging, and that is rooted in gender partnership. And when I talk about gender, I mean the full spectrum between men and women and all the gender choices in between. The partnership and the respect and diversity and inclusion will be the foundation of the future. Why can I say that? Because evolution always empowers and supports that which serves the highest amount of people, the survival of humanity. And literally the survival of humanity depends on diversity and inclusion. This is why I'm an unshakable optimist when I look into the future. So what does that all have to do with our stories? When we have a society with power over others, very simple, those in power write the stories. Those in power write the history. Those in power write out, literally, those who are not in power out of history. Literally, I mean it by literally scratching out, deleting, by taking books and pulling pages out, by destroying printing presses, by here if any one of you is studying or interested in the history of the Bible, there's a whole research about all the women which were in the Bible but got literally deleted and written out of it, or underwent a gender transformation and were turned into men, where suddenly their name changed, because those in power want to write their own history and write their own worldview into all books. And for a long, long time, the second question Marilena asked me, why are there so few women authors? For a long time, women were not allowed legally to be able to read and write. I know mainly about the history in Europe, not so much about Africa, South America, or Asia. In Europe, for hundreds of years, the only place where women were allowed to learn to read and write was when they chose to become a nun and live in a cloister, in a monastery, hidden, retreated from the world, where they were not any longer a danger for those in power. Being a nun was the only safe role a woman could have in order to be able, legally, to be allowed, not able, to be allowed to read and write. So for hundreds of years, this is so important for you ladies to understand for your personal. So we are starting the big context, historical and society, but we will go from the big perspective, from different angles. Ultimately, I will, talk about us, the individual woman. But it starts for you to, for your brain, for your body to embrace it, to literally understand the big perspective. For hundreds of years, you could have been killed or burned as a witch or thrown into jail if you dared to read and write, because that was considered a danger for those in power. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Because for us nowadays, it might be shocking. And yet I just Googled it the other day. And again, I sometimes sadly don't have all the numbers for around the world. You ladies here, in the way you are working, you probably have more access to the right statistic than I do. But I just looked up sorry, my English here stumbles a bit. The illiteracy rate here in the United States is shockingly high. There are right now over, I think, 38 million people, 38 million people, men and women, was not gender differentiated, just in the United States, who cannot properly read and write, which is for the evolution of humanity and especially democracy and safety, etc. It's a big thing. So globally, there's still a big catching up to do to make sure that everyone, men and women in all areas of the world, have access to that cultural skill, which is so crucial for our evolution and democracy. So if you want to, if you are like me, during the lockdown watching a lot of TV or too much TV, I recommend there are two amazing movies you watch. One is The Wife from 2018, The Wife. I don't want to say too much about the content because I don't want to be, what's the word, like destroying the surprise. So The Wife with Glenn Close. It's about the Nobel Prize in literacy, and it's about a man who's getting the Nobel Prize and his wife and the relationship. So it's fascinating and shocking. And the other movie I'm recommending, Can You Ever Forgive Me? Can You Ever Forgive Me? About a female author in the United States which is typical. And another aspect of why are there so few authors, even in the 20th century. Now, 21st century, it's changing, but in the 20th century, still a lot of publishing houses, they didn't dare to take on women, because of the thousands of years of history that women were not supposed to be authors, and those in power, the male owners of publishing houses, the male authors, the guild of authors, they didn't want that those in lower status, that women stepped up to become partners. So there was a huge, fat, thick, horrible glass ceiling in the publishing industry, where women were literally banging their heads and couldn't get into. And if you Google that, something like famous authors running under male names, which turned out to be women. There are hundreds and thousands worldwide where people were loving the books. Oh my gosh, have you read? Da, 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 da. And they were published under pseudonyms, under aliases, under male names, because women couldn't find otherwise a publisher. So that's a big historical context. And why does that have an impact on us is part of my answer to the third question. Why do many women, despite current opportunities, as I said, now 21st century, after the suffragette movement, the feminist movement, Me Too movement, the world is changing. Yeah, we are moving towards partnership. And in some media's eyes or publishing houses' eyes, women are hip and women authors are hip. So there is suddenly a demand. There are publishing houses who are looking now, historically it's a novum, for women to become authors and write books. Now it is a shortage of women saying yes. Now it's women who are shying away. Ooh. So where is that coming from? And the answer is, and I have to show briefly my bag to grab my brain model here. So neuroscience explains us, yeah, I love my brain model, it's my brain. By the way, if you ever, seriously, go onto Amazon or so, Google professional brain model, it's amazing. I hold it every day, I play with it every day. It's a real size and really heavy. It's amazing when you, for the first time in your life, hold a brain in your hand, even though it's not a real one, but the shape, the feel, and the weight is all natural, like the real one. It's amazing. So my point is, after thousands of years, where it was forbidden and dangerous, that information from the historical big context is in our individual, in in every woman's brain. Because our subconscious mind, please everyone raise your hand, shake it a bit, and then put your hand on the lower part of your skull, in the back of your head, so like between neck and start where the curve goes out again. There is mainly the seat of your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind, take a deep breath, relax your arm. Your subconscious mind is like a sponge. It takes in everything, every information, but not only from your own individual life, your own biography, your own history, through our subconscious mind, through this amazing, magical, miracle organ, we all are connected. And this is not woo-woo. This is not esoteric bullshit, Californian, blah, blah, blah. This is science has proven. We all are connected with the collective consciousness of all women ever lived. And if you believe, trust in the science of quantum physics and the collapsing of time and space, where all time, past, present, and future is happening here and now, just in alternative dimensions, we are even collectively connected with all the women of the future, which are not even yet in our realm, in our present time born. So our brain, being this amazing receiver of all this information, how can we joyfully say yes when a publisher comes with a contract? Here, Sylvia, $100,000, write a book, when we know, when we have subconsciously the information ingrained, when I publish a book, I might be killed or burned, or my husband runs away, my children will be ashamed, I will be ostracized and no one will speak to me, I lose everything when I become published. That is the subconscious reality. You here, being brilliant professional woman, you consciously have to move through. This is why I have my own tiny new last year launched publishing house This is why when I work with women authors to publish, I work with them through that fear. Because there is a difference. Imagine this with my hand here symbolizes like a filter, like a grid, like a cage from a jail. There is a difference. If you want to sit down at your desk and write on your laptop, PC, or by hand, if you want to write your story, but you have to fight your story through this cage, this grid of fears of visibility. What will happen to me if I pour out my heart? What will the others? In Germany, how I grew up, my traumatization was through one major sentence in Germany. In meme, it was always, "What will the neighbors think?" What will the neighbors think? That was in Germany a collective fear sentence because of the Second World War, because of the Nazis, and then later in East Germany, the Stasi, because what will the neighbors think was a very important question to think, because depending what they thought and might speak to the Nazis or Stasi, you might got killed. So what do the neighbors think is this whole question. In other words, deeper below it, am I safe? So when you sit down and you want to publish and write a chapter, just a blog post, a bit of Instagram chatting, a bit of Facebook, subconsciously, depending how sensitive you are, you have to write through the fear, through your subconscious collective wiring, and remind yourself. Everyone take a deep breath. Take both hands, hold your heart, like literally hold your heart and tell yourself, say it out loud. You can do it in your private space, but please say it after me out loud. I'm safe to write. Say it, 1, 2, 3. I'm safe to write. I think it would be so beautiful for the recording if we could hear everyone. Unmute yourself, let's do it together, so that everyone who listens to the replay gets goosebumps like I have right now. So let's say it together on 1, 2, 3. You hold your heart, and on 3 we say it. I am safe to write. Okay, but I was bad in my instruction. I said on 3 and then I didn't count, sorry. So I'd count 1, 2, 3, and then we say it together. 1, 2, 3.
I am safe to write.
Next sentence is, keep your heart in your hands, and if it's getting uncomfortable, shake them briefly out. And then you can also hold with one hand your heart, and with the other hand touch your solar plexus, your beloved belly, to connect with your gut, which is also a nice anchoring position. So one or the other, either both your heart, or one on your heart, one on your belly. And the second sentence is the safety in being visible. So the sentence is, I'm safe to be visible. I count till 3, and then we say it together. 1, 2, 3. I'm safe to be visible. Take a deep breath and sense that in your body. I have shivers running down from my neck over my arms. Breathe in deeply, in and out. When you respond to emails which trigger you, or you see something on social media which trigger you, the first thing literally is grab your heart or your heart and your gut and remind yourself you are safe. And when you type something, I had in the first years of Facebook, I'm a bit of a Facebook addict, I had so many anxiety attacks because there's something in me where I can't stay quiet when I see people sharing, I'm sorry, BS, when they share fake news or things which are scientifically simply just wrong or even dangerous. I can't stay quiet. It's just something my hands like, and on my phone, like, my husband hates that so much, but there is something, I can't hold myself back. So the first years I had so much anxiety because I was saying and typing things which were opposed to a post where they were 115 likes and 86 comments, and everyone was worshipping the person who posted their BS. And here I was commenting with a link or something or some arguments why what they just shared is not correct, why it's not aligned with science. And oh my gosh, sometimes I had 3-4 days of stress because of a comment of 3 lines, till I figured out, oh my gosh, I'm fighting in my own brain, in my own body, 1,000 years of limitations and danger against us women. And only when I started to rewire my brain and train myself, I'm safe to speak my truth. That's another one. Oh my gosh, yeah. Back, hand, heart, gut. Let's say it. I'm safe to speak my truth on 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm safe to speak my truth. Doesn't that feel amazing? Come on, can I see some reactions, thumbs up, some emoticons? Isn't that amazing? To feel safe to speak your truth, your story, your message. I totally believe, without knowing you individually, but I know Marilena and I have the honor to know Watsi also a bit. And from their stories and what I see on Facebook, we are connected and friends there. I know you all are doing phenomenal jobs. You are leaders in your life and in your communities. And there's something in you, in your soul, in your heart, in your belly. There's something which, doesn't allow me to ignore BS on Facebook and just, there is something in us which propels us, which ignites us, which triggers our passion to work day in, day out with big organizations and big corporate and big systems and bureaucracy. Oh my gosh, bureaucracy. Hands up. Who suffers from working with bureaucracy and the slowness and the complicated processes and all the rules? And oh gosh, isn't it sometimes frustrating, right? And yet there is something stronger in you. The something which is your soul's voice, which is your message. And please, there's a lot of discussion, especially in the United States, about what's your purpose, what's your calling. And sometimes I sense it's so blown up in something so monumental that it's not really any longer serving. Because I believe that everyone naturally has this something, this spark. And it doesn't need to be this super momental, elaborated 1,000 words explanation, big mission statement. I believe these sparks are very simple things. They are maybe 1 word or 1 sentence. It's a value, it's a gift, it's something which burns in you, which you want to bring into the world. So I want to do a quick, beautiful exercise with all of you. Ideally, you have a piece of paper empty at hand, but if you just have paper with lines, that's fine, but you need paper. It's not something you can do digitally, only with super sophisticated art design, pen thingies, screens with pens, but it's better to do it by hand. So have a piece of paper and ideally a marker with a color. Color doesn't matter which one. Checking on time. Yes, get to ask a few questions. Yes, Marilena, I saw it. We do this quick exercise and then I round up. So we will have definitely over 10 minutes to ask questions. So color doesn't matter. Don't overinterpret the color. I will stick to black because it's just a contrast, easier to see, but color is nicer. If you have a colorful pen, a marker, that's wonderful. So on your piece of paper, I want you to write in your words an intention. An intention is not a goal, it's the intention for what you are doing, the tiny exercise we are doing together. So for example, I give you my words, but I want you to turn them into your words. And so, which means not using mine if they don't resonate, but using yours. So the intention could be, my intention is to get a glimpse, and now you choose a glimpse of my message for the world, or a glimpse of my vision for me as an author, or a glimpse. My intention is to get a glimpse of the difference my book, my story, or my chapter would make. You choose, but write down literally, my intention is to get or receive a glimpse, or if you want a full-blown image or answer, you write your intention. My intention is to get a glimpse of my, and for me, it's what comes up is essential word of my soul's message. You choose your exact intention. When you have it, I decided I switch now slightly to a dark but different color, purple, just to make it different. So you use the same piece of paper. Here you have the intention. And now it's only a minute. It's really short. And I don't have the time to explain the whole neuroscientific background behind it. So please trust me. It's called metacognitive drawing. It comes from the School of Intentional Creativity. And it helps you to calm the mind chatter of your left brain hemisphere, balance the two, and get access to your intuition, your soul, your muse, however you like to call it. We will do it for 1 minute. Wait, I demonstrate first how it works, and then I say go, and you do it. You put your pen anywhere on the piece of paper, it doesn't matter. And when I say go, you allow your hand to move, what some people in Europe might call doodling, the thing you did as little girls at school when the teacher was taking away your pen and saying, stop. In Germany, they call it crackle-crackling on your piece of paper. Stop destroying your workbook. Stop making a mess. This kind of free-flowing. So you start somewhere. You don't dominate. You're not drawing consciously. You're not dominating your hand. When I say go, you just start moving for a whole minute while you hold your intention in that space. But you're not analyzing, you're not thinking about the class, me. You're just enjoying the flow of your hand for a whole minute. And when we are done, I will say, give another instruction where you then write down, draw, or paint what you get as an answer to your intention. So ready, everyone? The minute starts now. Go. Follow your hand, breathe, don't overanalyze anything. Another 20 seconds. Just follow your hand. Enjoy the movement. And time. Please either turn around your piece of paper, or if you have still space on it, use the same piece of paper. And now draw or write your word, your sentence, or an image. It could be a symbol, whatever comes up now. Don't analyze it, just write it down. Okay. This, by the way, the metacognitive drawing, I give you as a tip to always use this 1 minute. You can always use your phone to time you before you go into important meetings, or if you are working with a team and you need to come up with new arguments, new solutions, new perspective, use this 1 minute of doodling, metacognitive drawing, which means drawing while you think about something, while you hold your intention, I promise you, it will up-level your productivity and your creativity, and it will reduce the time you spend in teams and in meetings, because everyone is more productive, creative, and focused. So before we open it up to questions and also where you can share what you discovered, I want to finish here the official part, what Marilyn and I have prepared. So what we did is we did a real intense run here from the patriarchy, the evolution of humanity's paradigms, and we then became more and more concrete, narrowing it down why even nowadays, 2021, we women are still shying away from becoming published, and what we need to feel and do to overcome that. I want to give you briefly the three standard or the three main paths how women can be published now. They are in the moment in the publishing industry, and I make it very simple and quick, and there will be time for more. There are three paths. The first one is the traditional publishing house path. And every path of the three I'm giving you has pros and cons. What is great if you get published by a traditional publishing house? It is the brand power of that established publishing house. If you publish with Simon & Schuster or any one of the big names, they take care of the marketing, and they have their relationships with booksellers and etc. So you get their brand power to literally find your book physically. When you go into a bookstore, it will be there. The negative aspects of this traditional publishing is, and it's negative depending on your own strategy and goal. I pedal a bit back. To choose between the three, it all depends what is your goal with your book or story or chapter. That's always the case. You need to be clear what is your strategy and your goal you are pursuing with the book. And to crush immediately one myth out there, no one becomes wealthy or rich from selling the book. Selling a book or writing a book is not about the money, especially when you publish through a publishing house. Well, some people, there are these stories who get big contracts and big money, but they are the outliers. Normally, the amount of money you as the author get is not that interesting. And it's not about the money. With a traditional publishing house, it's about the brand power, the expertise, the image you get. The negative thing with traditional publishing houses is, especially nowadays with the digital world, their marketing efforts are going down. They want you to be more involved in the marketing. And you only get in with a traditional publishing house when you already have a huge platform. And huge platform means in the digital world, minimum 10,000 email subscribers on your email list and minimum 10,000 followers on social media in the different platforms. And you need to find the right publishing agent, which is like the bridge and the negotiator for the contract between you and the publishing house. And the other thing I find personally annoying, it takes minimum normally 2 years from finding the publisher, negotiating the contract, and getting into their plan how they publish books. They plan 2 years ahead of time. So it takes around minimum 2 years, sometimes longer. And the most horrible thing with most publishing houses is you give away through the contract, and because they pay you, you give away the copyright. The book, the copyright is then not any longer yours, it's a publishing house. So the other third way, like the complete contrast, was a big revolution around 15 years ago with the internet, is self-publishing. You can do everything yourself. And nowadays with email and Kindle and ebook and software and apps out there, literally you can be a published author, depending how fast you write and how focused you are in implementation, in a matter of a few hours. In a matter of a few hours, you can write I wrote my last chapter for a book which is coming out on the 30th this month. Wonderful multi-author book, 3,000 words. It's like a standard for a chapter length. This is around 6 to 8 pages, depending on the size of the book. I write that in 2 evenings, 2 times 2 hours or so. If you are clear about your message, self-publishing, it's super cheap nowadays, costs really little because there are so many free apps and software out there, and you can do it yourself and you can do it fast. That's amazing. So there's freedom, flexibility, full ownership. Yay! Why don't I still recommend that as the best one? The thing is, none of us is really good most of the time in editing ourselves, our own text, because our brain corrects them. While when you write something and then you read it, your brain sees what it wants to see and you don't find your mistakes. So self-editing is very difficult. So if you wanted to self-publish, I would minimum spend the money and have a professional editor make sure that the book or the chapter or whatever it is, the PDF ebook is well edited. Because if you want to be an author with a certain professionalism or in your image, you don't want to publish a crappy book. So make sure you have quality editing. But the rest is really cheap and easy to make. Fiverr designers produce gorgeous covers from $5 onward. So still, why don't I necessarily jump into that, or why I have never fully self-published? Because it has something to do with, again, with the world and the market and reputation. If you want to be perceived, and this is a bit old school in the minds of people, if you want to be perceived as professional with a higher reputation, a higher standing, because people know that self-publishing still has historically a tiny bit of the image where we still had typewriters and not computers, and self-publishing authors literally went then to the copy store and copied their pages and then got them stapled and in garages, etc. So there is an image issue and a quality issue with pure self-publishing. So the path I go now, and I have been now, I think 14 times published author in 9 books in Germany and 5, 6, 7 books in the United States, and a full book just written by me as a bestseller in 2016. I go with so-called the hybrid path, which is a mix between traditional publishing, self-publishing. In the middle, there is a hybrid. The hybrid means you write, you keep your copyright, which is so important if you are teachers or mentors, or you want to republish parts of your book or chapter, or you want to use it on your social media or in an online training. You keep your copyright, you own it, and then you work together with a publisher who does behind the scene all the technical stuff, the editing, the putting it together, the cover, the uploading to Amazon, who knows the algorithms and the strategy, how to become an Amazon bestseller on day 1, etc., etc. Yes, it costs some money. It's a bit more expensive than self-publishing, but you get the good thing from both worlds. You get the higher reputation because you work with a publishing house, and you keep all the rights and the freedom like from the self-publishing. So these are the 3 paths. They all have their pros and cons. I'm standing for the middle one, the hybrid one. And this is something where Marilena and I, you want to share the surprise, or shall I share it? It was Marilena's idea.
Well, we do have some published book authors here. And as I said, this session today stemmed from a reading session we had. So talking with Sylvia, we came up with the idea to launch a book publishing project. Just, well, for us, for the Women's Informal Network. And so the idea is that Sylvia would be leading this project, and each one of us who's interested can write her own story or a story that she would like to write. Or as Sylvia mentioned earlier, I can see Wadzi's enthusiasm, the message that you want to get across. So what is it that your message, your voice that you want to be heard? And so Sylvia, you can go into the details of how we thought about going about it.
Yeah, and because I know not everyone is interested in that, so what Marilyn and I have decided is we will do a follow-up call just about the project for those of you who are interested in that. And there is a link, and I think here Marilena just put it in. I have created a survey, which is no commitment, no contract, just sharing your interest and me asking a few questions about you. So Marilena put the link into the chat box. If you are interested in that, please go through the link. If you somehow lose the chat box, ask Marilena or me again for the survey link. And we will, in around 6 weeks, have a Zoom conference call where I explain the details, how it would work and what it cost and the strategy to become an Amazon bestseller. The goal would be to be published in late fall this year, 2021, and be an Amazon bestseller. And all the other details I would like to take out of today's session so that we have a bit of time here for any questions. I invite us to use the last 5, 6, 7 minutes to hear from some of you. I would love to hear what came out of the little exercise. What do you sense is your message or core? What do you want to bring in the world? Is it an independent, if it's a full book chapter, all of these differences and details we will talk in the follow-up book, but I would love to know, what is your soul wanting to bring into the world? Or if you have a question to anything else I have said. So please raise your hand either through the emoticon or through the participant box. There's also a hand raising, or just show it here via video so that we can do it easy.
So thank you very much, Sylvia. Just for the information of all, I am stopping the recording now so that you can be totally free to ask your questions as you wish, okay?